Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Two Chicks in a Horror Flick. I am Felicia Connor, and this is the lovely
Tawny Ray.
And we're so excited that you are joining us. I say that a lot because I am very excited. I'm a very passionate person. And tonight we are going to be talking about Jacob's Ladder, the 1990 film, Jacob's Ladder, not 2019. So, yeah, I'm
That
really
was news to me that there was a remake.
Yeah, me too. So when I logged in, me and the girls were all sitting there ready to watch the movie, and I logged in, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I hope she doesn't mean this one," because I was thinking the old one, like the original one. So I was glad that you watched the original one because that's the one I rented.
I actually, because I hadn't seen this movie beforehand, I had created a bunch of our social stuff, and I put the poster for the newest one because I didn't know that there were two. And so I had to go back and change all that.
But you watched the old one, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, good. All right. So just as a little disclaimer, remember this is a spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want it to be spoiled, then go ahead and go watch it and then visit us back here. And
I also want to say, just from having the experience of never watching this movie, which is shocking that I've never seen this movie, actually, and I'll get into why. But having never watched the movie, and I didn't know anything about it, I highly recommend you go into this movie not knowing anything. It's one of those that I feel like it's very good if you go in with no prior information. That's just my 2 cents there.
I totally agree with that. 100%. Before we move forward, let's talk about what we are drinking. So I am drinking, I got this stuff called Kin Euphorics. So it's not alcohol, but it has adaptogens in it. And so that's really all I know. So you can look it up if you want to know more about how this works. And so I have that. This is one of the recipes they had. So I have that mixed with this lime seltzer water.
How do you feel about it?
I like it. So it says you can only have 4 ounces a day, and which is fine. I've only had 2 ounces once, like a week ago. But today I was feeling particularly stressed. And so I had one of these, and I felt calmer, but I don't feel weird or anything. I just noticed I felt calmer. It could have totally been a placebo effect, not sure. So I'll tell you after I drink this one if I feel anything weird or anything.
Okay, good to know. I ordered some yesterday. So
nice.
It should be here early next week, and I'm excited to try it. And in the meantime, I'm drinking some real liquor, some other Scotch whiskey that Jade got. It's not the Aberfeldy kind that we've been drinking. But it's similar. It's the same type, and it's all right. I like the other kind better.
Yeah, Aberfeldy?
Aberfeldy, yeah.
Is this called some other kind? Or you're just saying it's some other kind?
It's a different name that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. Because I looked at the bottle and was like, I'm going to have to say what I'm drinking. And I was like, not a chance. No
it's
way.
Just some other kind.
It's also a Scotch whiskey, which Aberfeldy also is. That's it. That's it.
Nice. All right, awesome. So let's give everyone a little recap of the movie. So, the recap of Jacob's Ladder, not the recap, the summary. Mourning his dead child, a haunted Vietnam War veteran attempts to uncover his past while suffering from a severe case of disassociation. To do so, he must decipher reality and life from his own dreams, delusions, and perceptions of death. This movie was directed by Adrian Lyne, and I did not realize how much I love this director. I had no idea. But I hope it's a he. Yeah, it's a he. He directed Fatal Attraction, Flashdance, Innocent Proposal, Unfaithful, and 9.5 Weeks, which are all movies that I really like. He's usually kind of not put on the spot, but he's under a lot of heat because his movies often have to deal with sexual things like 9.5 Weeks, and people get all pissed off about that. And and he also, I don't know if you saw this, he directed the film Lolita, the new Lolita, not the new, but the more recent remake with Jeremy Irons.
Okay.
All movies I love. I had no idea I'm such a huge Adrian Lyne fan.
Wow. Isn't that interesting to find out and be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I like all of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, and this, and this, and this. Wow, I never even heard of him. Well, I mean,
That's
because you think of like, Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, James Cameron. These are the names you always hear, but these are all movies I love. But I'm looking at the page and page and page of notes that I have. So,
dude,
I
was like, you have got to have pages of notes. This is such a meaty
oh my
movie.
gosh, it's so meaty. So before we talk about it, the cast. Tim Robbins, he plays Jacob Singer. He's the lead. He's the big lead character. Elizabeth Pena plays Jezzy. Jezebel is her name, and he calls her Jezzy. Danny Aiello probably plays Lewis, who is his chiropractor and like almost like his spiritual mentor in a way. And then I just had to mention Pruitt Taylor Vince. He played Paul. He played the one that was the first one to reach out to Tim Robbins because he thought he was going to be going to hell. Because I don't know, I just really liked his character. I thought he did a great job.
The eyes guy?
Yes. So I have a question about the eyes guy. Is he partially blind? Is that why his eyes move that fast?
I don't know. That's a very good question.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to look it up. And then Macaulay Culkin plays the little boy, his little boy that died. So, all right, Tawny Ray, what did you think about this movie? Let's get into it.
I really fucking like this movie, dude.
Yes.
I'm so shocked. I have never watched this movie. Like, it's actually mind-blowing that I have never seen it because, again, I had to go and do a little bit of research because throughout the first 20 minutes of this movie, I was like, this is giving me major Silent Hill vibes. Major, which, if you don't know, is probably my favorite movie of all time. Well, mostly because I played the video games when I was growing up, and I feel like they did a very good job of translating the feeling of the video game to the movie, which is very specific. Also, I want to be clear, I'm not talking about the sequel, not Silent Hill 3D. That does not exist. It's awful. But the first Silent Hill movie is so good. And I was like, holy shit. For the first 20 minutes, I was like, this is like exactly Silent Hill. Like 1,000%. And it come to find out, Silent Hill, the team of developers who made this video game, pulled that's one of their major influences, which makes total sense. So I realized that Jacob's Ladder happened before Silent Hill, but the reason I like this movie is because of Silent Hill. I did that first, and it reminded me of Silent Hill. It was so good.
So a funny fact for the audience is I hadn't done the research yet, and Tawny slacks me, watch this before we record. And I watched this it looked scary. It was a video game, but the Silent Hill trailer. And then it was done. And I'm like, what? And so I slacked her and I'm like, okay, I watched it. And then when I was doing my research, I saw that, yes, that they were influenced by this movie. So there was a link. That was very cool.
Yes. Even just from the opening scene of him, well, I guess it's the second opening scene of him being in the subway and getting out of the car and trying to find his way home. Bergen Street is also used in the Silent Hill subway scenes. They pulled that heavily from it, that it's and I even remember being like, that looks familiar, I was like, wow, interesting. And then that whole first the whole first sequence, right, where he's coming home and he's lost, he has to go all the way home, and he gets home and he's he comes out of the elevator, and there's all these baby carts lined up, that look ultra old, from the 40s.
Yeah,
this movie was made in 1990. They're far older than that, but that happens in Silent Hill too. When you're walking around, there's left just abandoned, baby carriages bikes again, which is we're probably going to talk about later, a theme kind of in this movie, chairs, hospital beds, things like that. And also one of the first things I picked up on was they had a shot of the city in the very like first, one of the first scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and it was totally quiet. There was no one around in his entire journey from like the subway back to his
Oh,
house.
yeah, you're right.
It was silent. And so I was like, I called it then, dude. I was like, again, major spoilers. He went home and I was like, this is giving me major Silent Hill vibes. He's got to be in purgatory. Like I was just like, bam, called it that quick. Now granted,
Oh, yeah.
it's because I have my experience with Silent Hill kind of, and I was like, and also the in the beginning of the movie, I feel like they were pretty heavy-handed in the like themes of that kind of.
Yeah.
But man, this movie was a journey. It felt like much longer than like 2 hours, but not in a bad way. Like there was like a lot, dude. We covered a lot of ground. And this movie is so much. Like I just was like, I really liked it at the end, but then I thought about it until I went to bed, until I fell asleep. I thought about it the entire night. And I woke up this morning and I was like thinking about it even more. And I was like, the more I sit on this movie, the more I fucking love it.
Yes. That's awesome.
This was a great call. Give me your take.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love it. I love this movie. I saw it when it came out. Yeah, because 1990, I was in high school. And I saw it when it came out and I loved it. I was constantly like, what the is going on? And for the audience, well, as you know, because you already saw it, because you don't want it to be spoiled, all of those different things. And then, okay, is he with his wife? Oh my God, he's not with his wife. It got to the point where, like, that scene where he's in the hospital and she comes in with his sons and she's like kissing him and he's kind of hoping, okay, maybe this is real. Maybe everything else was a dream and now I am with her. And then there was that voice, like, I think it said like dream on or something like
Yeah.
that. And then he realized and he's just started breaking down because he realized that this wasn't real. Oh my God, it was tearing on my heart. I absolutely love this movie. I remember, so before I rewatched it, there was these 3 scenes that I remembered, and I didn't remember anything else. The first scene I remembered was that creepy tail penis thing with that dude sleeping on the subway. I just remembered that under his coat wiggling. Yeah. It burned. It must have just really disturbed me because I remembered that scene. And then
I called that a penis snake.
Yeah, the penis snake wiggling. Like, it was just so gross. And then him in the bathtub, in the ice bathtub. For some reason, that was seared into my head too. He did such a great job of, I don't know, it was just so terrible. And I just remember that scene. I do remember like the flash of the face with no eyes, like in the car when it drives by. So when he's running and the car is chasing him and then he like kind of goes into a door or whatever and crashes in and it passes and the face. I remember that. And I remembered the end. I remembered it was all his experiences right before death. Now, right before dying, and I knew about, that it was the acid and stuff like that. I remembered that. The one thing about purgatory, though, when you just said that, I thought purgatory was a state you went after you died. If you still have sins, but they're not mortal sins. And so I didn't think that he hadn't had died yet. He was fighting to live, and those were just all the flashes. Those were just all the things his minds were doing right before he died. I loved, and this was the same as the Stir of Echoes that we just saw. The end was sweet. I loved that his little boy was there. And at first I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought he was just going to have this experience of his kid and realize his kid is not really alive. And then when he started leading him, come with me, Daddy. Oh, I loved it.
That was cute. That was very cute. And as far as like the purgatory comment goes, I don't think in the end, I don't think that's, I think I was a little off there, right? As far as that goes, but that's also how I understand purgatory. I don't understand, like, I don't know anything about like the true biblical, like whatever of purgatory. All I know about purgatory is that it's somewhere between alive and dead. And so when I say purgatory, that's what I mean. It's like it's not either. It's like where people hang out before they cross over. So
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So when I went to college, I went to an all-girls Catholic college and studied the catechism. And like, so when I was coming, my comment was from a Catholic, like in the catechism of the Catholic Church.
I don't even know what that is.
The layers of
words I'm so lost on.
Hell, purgatory, heaven. And so you go to hell, you've done some bad shit. Purgatory is you have sins, you're not ready for heaven. And then there's the, like, you can, way back in the day, we're talking about like Luther, that founded Lutheran time, where you could pray for the souls of the people you love that are in purgatory to help try to get them up into heaven. But they were dead. They were like dead.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's how I think of it too. Like if you're in purgatory, you are dead, but you just haven't moved on to like whatever's beyond that.
Oh, see.
It's like you're stuck.
I see it as, yes. So in purgatory, you're still not good enough or cleansed enough or sin-free enough to be into heaven. And then I see, I feel like there's this another level of you haven't moved on, which is like the spirits in the that are almost like sharing the world with us. I didn't realize they can go. I don't know either. No one knows, so we can just say what is fact.
All of my information is movie knowledge, by the way. Like I'm not pulling from like any other thing. It's just
oh my gosh,
what have I read and watched that I think is kind of the presented reality, Yeah.
There was so much about this movie, that we'll share, and then I'll tell you the fun facts, that I wanted to get more into a little more research about the biblical Jacob's Ladder, but I just didn't. I didn't have a chance. All I have is that Jacob's Ladder is the staircase. It's in the Bible, and it is pretty much the meeting place between heaven and earth. So it's a staircase to heaven from a dream Jacob describes in the Old Testament. So it's also why I believe it was the book Jacob's Ladder that the writer, Mr. Bruce Rubin, almost called it Dante's Inferno, based off of Dante's Inferno, but there's a Dante's Inferno. But anyway, I just wanted to add that in there. The reason is I was searching Jacob's Ladder. I saw the new movie. Then I saw a movie that looked totally like Tim Robbins in the bathtub. I recognized it, but the category said religious. And I was like, oh, wait a second. And then there was the other cover of the movie, and then it said thriller. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't think I want the religious one, but that's definitely Tim Robbins.
Weird.
But that's why, because of maybe because of the Bible reference.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. And do you remember, I mean, far later in the movie, right, we have the chemist come out and talk to him and say, I created this. It's a drug. We called it, did he say that they called it Jacob's Ladder, or was it just called The Ladder?
The ladder.
Do you remember? Okay.
The ladder. So that was specifically Jacob's experience with the ladder.
Okay. And so that's interesting then, that it just seems like maybe another biblical tie-in with the Jacob's Ladder.
Yes.
Part of
it. Definitely those were all tied in. I have a fun personal fact about that.
Tell me.
So everything you read here, they say that they denied. I don't think nowadays they deny that they tested this acid LSD on. I thought that was a fact that everybody knew, that the government tested LSD on some troops.
I thought so too.
Into war machines, right? But when I was looking it up, this hallucinogen, it's like 3-quadrantyl and it kept saying as rumored, and I thought that was fact. Well, here, guess what, guys? If anybody is like, I don't know if that's fact or not, it is. And I'm totally basing this off of my high school chemistry teacher. he was this old guy who looked a lot like, actually, I was curious, I was going to look it up. That character, and I can't remember his name, who was the scientist, but older. Same hair,
Okay.
same kind of look, but older. Anyways, my high school chemistry teacher, I have to look up his name. He worked on the drug. He was a part of that team that worked on developing that drug and giving it to the soldiers.
Dude,
So,
what if he just watched this movie and saw that he looked like an older version of that guy and like took that opportunity to be like, I'm gonna tell all my students that I created this drug because I look like this motherfucker and they're gonna think it's
I'm
me.
trying to think. 1990. Well, I was a freshman in high school. I don't think so. He was talking all about it, and he was like, I just looking back at the movie thinks that he looked kind of like him. But it's also, I'm 43, and how much do I really remember what my high school chemistry teacher looks like? But yeah, he said that he worked on the team that developed the drug and gave it to the soldiers.
What, like, give me more. Do you know any more, or is that all he said? And everybody was just like 16, so they were like, okay.
Well, yeah, he didn't reference Jacob's Ladder or anything like that. I don't even know if it was out. Well, it must have been out at that time, but how he was talking about it wasn't in reference to a movie or anything.
Right.
He was, I don't really remember exactly. I just remember being in class and him talking about his experience in the war and how he was a scientist that worked on. That's all I remember. That's what's seared into my head, is that he was said that he was, and they tested it on them to make them. I remember him specifically saying war machines. That's what they wanted to make the soldiers, just like war machines, just be, killing machines.
You got yearbooks?
I do have yearbooks, so I can totally look them up and.
I want to know. Google that guy.
Yeah, I will. Yes. Okay. I will. And
Okay.
I'll share. Oh, how about this? I'll find his name and I'll share it in our Facebook group.
Yes.
So if you want to know, you got to go to the Facebook group, and I will post it in there. I probably can say, I mean, he was very old. Maybe he's not even alive anymore. I'll post his picture.
Awesome. I'll post
Can I get in trouble for that?
I don't think so.
Okay. So, yes, awesome. Something about the movie that I thought you would like is that all the special effects were filmed live with no post-production.
I for sure, I was like, all this shit is practical. And I mean, maybe practical is not like the totally technically correct term, because like, I'm sure they had to do some, shit in post a little bit. But it holds up, right? Like you watch that movie and you're like, everything is so from the jump.
Say that again because you got quiet. Like your sound cut out and I want to hear what you said.
Oh, I just said everything in this movie is so fucking creepy looking.
Yeah.
It's like so well done. I was blown away. I was like, for sure this had to all be practical, right? Like, or at least for the most part. Like I'm saying, they probably did a little bit of post-production work on it, but maybe not, now that you're saying it was all done in camera.
They said no post-production work. For example, because you shared something like this last time, so I thought you'd really like this.
She's got receipts. For
example, to achieve the famous head shaking,
Adrian, this is what I was thinking about. Yeah.
Simply filmed the actor waving his head around and keeping his shoulders and the rest of his body completely still at 4 FPS. 4 frames per second.
Mm-hmm.
Resulting in an incredibly fast and deeply disturbing motion when played back at the normal frame rate of 24 frames per second. See, Tawny is she says, this was totally practical. I wouldn't even know that, but you know this because you're the professional video person. So yeah, I thought I would impress you with telling you some facts that I totally just found on Google.
Please impress me. I love it. That's great. What an incredible feat, dude. And it looks so good. I mean, I was blown away. I mean, I think sometimes you look at older movies, and this isn't really that old, I feel like, but you look at older movies and you go like, okay, some of that was good and some of that was, like Poltergeist. It was like some of that holds up, some of it doesn't. Everything in this movie holds up. It is
Yeah.
and it looks so fucking good, dude. Like, just like you were saying, the
Mhm.
penis snake in the subway,
Yes.
creepy, gross.
Ugh.
The like when when she when his girlfriend is like sort of yelling at him,
Mhm.
and she like gets in his face and she's like yelling at him, and her, she's got probably contacts in,
Yeah.
all blackout contacts, but they also did something to her teeth to make it like mostly gum with like tiny little chiclet teeth,
Oh.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it was fast and it was kind of subtle, but again, I love subtle. So like it was good because it was fast and you're just like like that is terrifying. It's so much better than the like CGI demon face, like
So
which
much better.
doesn't hold up 6 months after they release it. I was just like, God, so what else stuck out to me? The nurse when she like bends over and
Ugh.
the hat falls. I was also like, oh, ew. It takes a lot, I feel like, for me to be like legitimately grossed out. But like there were so many scenes in this movie where I was just like, oh my God, that is disgusting looking in like the best way though. Like, I'm just like,
Yes.
yes.
Oh yeah, that head. Oh my gosh. How about when he is taken through the hospital and it's just piles and piles of limbs and blood and bodies. Oh my gosh.
I
Oh my
loved that.
gosh. It was so good and scary and gross.
Yes. And it was like, again, I mean, I'm pulling from my Silent Hill love. And so it's maybe like unfair or something, but it just poised me to love this movie because immediately what they do is they walk him through this decrepit, that scene that you're talking about where they take him to the hospital after he has like broken his back. We're not really sure, but he gets
He
hit by a
just,
car. Or
yeah.
no, he
No,
jumps
he
out of the
falls out of the
car.
car. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
out of the car.
This is like way later in the movie, but he like jumps out of the car. You know, we assume that he like breaks his back kind of, and then they take him into the hospital and he's there, and then all of a sudden they start wheeling him through this like decrepit, old abandoned hospital, but it morphs from that to like a insane asylum all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go from that to like the what you're talking about, like the bloody limbs, and there's just like blood on the wall, and it's like they're running over limbs. And I just was like, this is my shit, dude. This is my shit. Like, I just love this whole thing. Even the scene, I don't know if you noticed, but when I sent you that Silent Hill video, there's even a scene in Silent Hill where it's like on the opposite end of a grate, like
Yep.
a gate, something's crawling, and I was just like, man,
Yep.
I see how perfectly, I mean, like, on one hand, you could be like, they ripped it off almost exactly, but on the other hand, you could say they were heavily influenced in a positive way by this movie. I loved that scene. I love stuff like that because of Silent Hill, when you're in an environment and all of a sudden it shifts and it's like this perverse, like otherworldly version of that thing. Like, God, I love that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. It was so, the way that it transpired, it was like, we actually were talking when they were going through the hospital. So the first, they're pushing him right in the hospital, and I'm like, oh gosh, that hospital's so dirty. And it was just a hospital, but it was dirty, right? Like, usually hospitals have bright lights and they're super sterile. I'm like, ugh. But it didn't trigger anything yet because the city was dirty. Everything was so dirty. Anyways, so his apartment, like everything felt dirty. So I didn't immediately, but I did say to the girls, I'm like, ugh, God, that hospital is so dirty. And then he's going more, and my daughter goes, gosh, yeah, look at that. The walls, there's paint chipping. And then all of a sudden it goes to shit. It's like, oh, there's bikes, there's things look burned, it's trashed. Now it's an insane asylum. Now there's blood and guts everywhere. It was so awesome how it transitioned without you even really knowing or expecting. And all of a sudden you start at this place and now all of a sudden, holy shit, how did we get here? Like,
Yes. Okay, listen, I know I'm like way getting us off topic here, and at some point we're gonna watch Silent Hill probably because it's like my favorite movie in the entire
yes.
world. But like there is in the video game Silent Hill, it's Silent Hill 3, and that's the one that I sent you the trailer for. There's a scene where you walk down this incredibly long staircase, and I think it's in the subway because there's like a whole subway deal, which again is like a callback to this movie. But you walk down such a long staircase, and on the way down, it changes from being like a normal subway to like the decrepit, rusted out, bloody thing. And what you can do in the game is you can go down and go back up and see the difference. Like it doesn't like permanently change, it changes like based on where you are in the staircase.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like love the gradual, exactly what you just described, the gradual change where you don't even notice it in the moment, but you start to be like, oh my God, like 10 seconds ago, there wasn't blood everywhere. You know, like I
Mm-hmm.
love that slow progression through it.
Yes. I loved how you really weren't sure. You started to become unsure what was real and what wasn't. Is he married with that woman? Is his son really dead? Or is he with Jesse? Or is he still in Vietnam? You got so, they just really nicely how they interjected the nightmares, the dreams, the waking life, how they just molded it all together. It got to a point where I was like, is he even really talking to all these guys on the top of a building? Like, you know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Yes. You're so confused. You're so confused. And that's why I feel like this movie was a journey, is
mm,
because like you never, like it kept me guessing. And I will say this is a bold claim, and maybe I'll go back on this, but I feel like this movie did the best job of that of any other movie I've ever watched in my lifetime, because I did get lost. I got lost in what was happening. For the first like,
yeah.
hour or something, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, okay, we got Jezebel. You know what I mean? Like I was like, it's very heavy-handed. I get the themes. Like I was sort of like, okay, got it. But then like we get halfway through the movie and they really double down on the like war, acid, you were a victim of a crime that you did not consent to. In a way, the government screwed you over, and they really went in on that. And then I was like, oh my god, actually maybe I was wrong. Like now I think this is like an entirely like real thing. And then it starts to get crazy again, and I was like,
Well, yeah, because his lawyer's like, you were never even in the army.
yeah.
Like, I looked it up and you weren't even in the army. You're like, whoa, wait a second. Wait a second. Then who are you? Who is he? And then how about the nurse was like, you don't exist. Your doctor doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Then
dude.
he finds a guy in the hospital who's like, oh yeah, that guy died. His car exploded. Like,
And then his friend's car explodes, and you're just like, what is up, dude? Like, I'm so lost about what
but
is reality.
lost in a good way.
Yes.
Like, totally what you were saying is how they do the best job of doing this, because there's some movies I've seen where
They try
you're
to do this.
lost. Yeah, lost in an irritating way. Like, what? And then they try to wrap it up, and then there's pieces still hanging out there. Like, well, what about that? And what about this? Yeah, this was just lost in a good way. Like, you wanted to know more. You wanted to find the answer. You wanted to be there when he found the answer.
Exactly. Or, like, I just feel like in the other movies that I've watched that do this, I actually feel the opposite. I agree with what you're saying. I think I've seen some that go, like, way too crazy. And then I think I've seen some that don't go crazy enough. And you're able to be
Mm.
like, okay,
Oh,
I
yeah.
get it. Yeah, like you're trying to give me this red herring about a thing that you want me to think is like I kind of feel like,
That's true.
as far as movies that we've already watched, I kind of feel like the Invisible Man remake kind of tried to, it was like, maybe she's crazy. Like, but we obviously know she's not crazy. Like, we know the
Yes.
plot of this movie. We know, and it's just like, okay, blah, we could do without it. But this movie, I was so thoroughly like, I actually have no idea what the fuck is going on. And it was great. That is
Yes.
a good thing.
It was so, so good.
And you want him to figure it out. And there was a moment where I was like, oh no. There was a moment where I got fatigued, but they picked it up, I feel like, right after that. It was right when the first guy he goes to meet and his car gets blown up.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, I was like, all right, if I don't start getting some goddamn answers, like I am gonna bail out of this movie. Like I'm mad. Somebody help me. But I feel like they did turn it around in time that it didn't frustrate me, but they pushed me to my edge, which again, as a viewer, is such a good experience because you're like, I'm losing it. What is real?
Well, the audience, you know how they pre-screen the audience before they release the movie? Or yeah. So the audience that watched the movie said that it was so overwhelming. It was just too overwhelming. So the director actually cut 20 additional minutes, and it was all towards that end half of the movie that was cut. Can you imagine having 20 more minutes of that adventure?
Dude, no. I feel like it was long enough. I don't know
Yeah.
that I could have taken any more, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But the end, the very, very end, that God, it was so. I just remember watching this for the first time and going, "Oh shit, that is awesome!" The very end wraps it all up. You're trying to
Yes.
find answers throughout the movie, and the very last scene wraps it all up, and you're like, "Oh shit, that was so good."
Yes.
I love it. Here's something. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's a different movie that I've watched that has a similar premise to this that was made like way after the fact. I'm gonna add it to our list, but I don't want to say what it is because it like spoils the whole thing.
Okay.
But I feel like there was a lot in this movie that like went over my head. Like I think I probably missed a large part of, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I feel like I don't do as good of a job like digging into the like really deep themes of a movie. And this is kind of ties into this. That song that was playing at the end, was that the song that he was singing to his son
Yeah, I think it was.
when he was
Yes,
in
that
the
song. And he was like, "What's that song?" Remember? And he was also, yes, when he was, I think he with Jezebel at the time. Remember, he was kind of humming and he was like, one scene, I don't even remember where he was.
Yeah.
He was trying to, what is that song? Where does that song come from? Remember?
I don't know. Are you mixing that
Um,
up with Stir of Echoes? Because that did happen in Stir of Echoes also, where he was like,
oh, shoot. Now I have
it
no
was
idea.
painted in black, you know, or that's not the right,
Paint It Black?
paint it black. Thank you.
I don't
And
know now.
it could be, it's probably both.
That's a good call. I don't remember. So let me just take that back. Don't worry about it. But yeah.
But I was like, should I know this song? Like when he was singing it to his son, and I didn't recognize it and I didn't know it. And so when the song played at the end, I was like, was that the same song? But I don't know.
I think it was. I think it was the same song. All of those different things, the themes, there was so much. Like, for example, his chiropractor. Was his chiropractor like his spirit guide or God? Or, you know what I mean? Like,
Guardian Angel.
guardian angel. Yeah. Yeah. I loved his quote. I actually sat there and was playing it over in my head like, oh, I want to find some deeper meaning to this. But when he says, the only thing that burns in hell is the part of you that won't let go of life, your memories, your attachments. They burn them all away, but they're not punishing you. They're freeing your soul. So if you're frightened of dying and you're holding on, you'll see devils tearing your life away. But if you've made your peace, then the devils are really angels freeing you from earth.
Yeah, that was also like, as soon as he said those lines, I was like, oh, wait, like that was dense. I can't process all of that. Like, I need to go back and listen to it again. Um, but yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I sat there and I was like, they're really devils. The devils are really angels. Like I said, and then the movie kept going, and I was like, okay, I need to think about this at a different time.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, okay, no, I can't even. Let's just revisit that later. Yeah, but like it kind of makes sense. It kind of, I feel like, gives you a hint as to like, okay, all of the shit that he sees from here on out is like you could see it as one way or the other.
Yeah.
And it just adds to that, like, you don't know which way is up. You don't know what's happening. A fever dream, I think, is what other people have described certain other things as, but that's like the best term, I feel like, when I think back on this movie now, even just like, I'm like 24 hours away from watching it. A fever dream is like one of the best ways I can describe. Like, I don't even remember linearly kind of how it happened. And even in the context of the movie, it's not linear, right? So it's like, it's just a jumble of scenes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I just love that. I loved that when he had a fever. And so first of all, you hate Jesse. Like,
yes, what a
if
bitch.
You're going crazy, you're on your own. Wow, that's a keeper, and then she was taking care of him, and he was in the bath, and then he woke up and he was with his wife and his kid was alive. I'm like, oh, thank God, she was just a dream. No, she wasn't a dream. He wakes up and how devastated he is that
in that water, dude, when he's underwater and he's just
realizing that this, and his tears. Oh,
so much emotion, dude. I was like, oh no. Because he wakes back up in his own, like, sort of hell, right? Like, it was a fucking nightmare, dude.
It was so sad.
She was such a bitch. I was like,
such a bitch.
The one moment that finally did it for me, because I was like, whatever, this lady sucks, but she just,
she's actually very jealous and insecure, because she keeps, like, when she was burning his photos, she keeps, like, when she said the dead one,
that was it for me, dude. Yes, I was like,
I'm sorry I took it away.
No, you're right. No, that was it though. I was like, we were like, I'm sorry, what? Jay and I were both watching it. We had to like pause and be like, what a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
She even laughs. She's even like, oh yeah, you were like calling out for your wife and your kids, even the dead one. You were like,
yeah. And then how that pained him. God, he did such a good job.
He did. He really.
So let me tell you this. So about the lead actors, because I kind of am always interested on who they thought they would, who they wanted first, and so on and so forth. So first, Adrian Lyne. I don't know if you've seen The Bonfire of the Vanities. That was a 1990 movie. It's not a horror film, but that movie, which was a really big movie. Adrian Lyne, the director of Jacob's Ladder, turned down directing Bonfire of the Vanities to direct Jacob's Ladder. I'm telling you this because he also wanted Tom Hanks to play Jacob Singer, but Tom Hanks turned down the role to be in Bonfire of the Vanities. So I just thought that was funny how they flip-flopped. But yeah, he wanted Tom Hanks, but he obviously turned that down. They also asked Don Johnson and Mickey Rourke, and they both turned it down.
Thank God.
I said thank God. I whispered it and forgot totally that people listening would not hear it. But nothing against Don Johnson and Mickey Rourke. Like, I've liked things that both of them were in, but as the lead actor in this movie,
I don't know who Don Johnson is. I can't. Sometimes I have a hard time with names, putting names to or faces to names.
Probably wouldn't. I remember Don Johnson from way back in the day. My mom used to watch the show, and I used to watch it with her, called Miami Vice. And he was in this Miami Vice show, and then he did some acting. But yeah, Mickey Rourke, right? No?
I mean, I know the name, but again, I'd have to like look at a picture. I have a hard time linking the face with a name sometimes. So
yeah, I just think Mickey Rourke, he is this very he himself is such a, I don't want to say character in a disrespectful way, but he has just a very he's just this particular personality, or the way he talks. I don't even know how to explain it, but anyways, I couldn't see him being the lead in this movie and being this character of like, I thought Tim Robbins did a phenomenal job. He's just this, he's happy and he's scared and struggling, and he's just really lovable and likable.
Yes, he is very likable right from the beginning. Before you even know anything about him,
Yeah.
I found myself very early on being like, why do I give such a shit about this person? I really have no reason to. Like, they really have not given me a lot of anything to go on. It's just that you're plopped in the middle of the story. Like, you just,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of times they set this up, right? Like, they put you in the middle of the story and they're like, here's this person and here's why they're redeemable. Like, right up front.
Yeah.
They didn't do that with this movie, but I was like, why do I like and care about this person? I don't know, but I do. And I
Yeah.
want him to do well and succeed and like be okay. And I do think I think I hear what you're saying, and it's hard to put into words, but like there are some people who are such caricature, like almost become caricatures of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that's kind of what you mean about Mickey Rourke,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is like it would have been too much.
It
And
would have been too much. I can't even imagine.
yeah.
So let me tell you the actors that wanted to be in this role, but they didn't want them.
Okay.
So the director
Oh,
didn't.
this is juicy. This is like, I feel like we're like gossiping.
So these are the actors that wanted the role, but they didn't feel they'd be a right fit. Richard Gere, Dustin Hoffman, Al Pacino. So those great actors, but, well, I mean, maybe Al Pacino. I don't know. It's so interesting how it falls together. Like, Tim Robbins truly is, I think, even a better pick than Tom Hanks.
Yes.
I think Tom Hanks would have done a great job, but I think it's just, I don't know. So listen, for Jezzy,
Okay.
the actresses that wanted to, or the actors, sorry, that wanted to play Jezzy: Jennifer Lopez,
Okay.
Andy McDowell, Demi Moore, and Julia Roberts. Elizabeth Pena, which I think again is like the perfect fit.
She did a great job, dude.
Yeah, because I think with her, I don't know, Jennifer Lopez. I do like Jennifer Lopez. When I think though, besides the movie that you were talking about, Enough, right, where there was a lot of like the wedding planner and
Made in Manhattan. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't initially think Andy McDowell. I mean, I wouldn't think her either. Demi Moore might have been a good spot. Julia Roberts, I don't know. I think Elizabeth Pena, by the way, she was the first one to audition for the role.
Okay.
So it sounds like they did audition these other women and went with her. I think it was perfect that she was not such a huge star, because her role was secondary, right? But it was important. And I think the fact that she wasn't Julia Roberts, I think was good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because
I agree.
Tim Robbins really is the center of this entire movie. And I just think, I don't know, that's what I feel.
Yeah, you're right. It could have taken away, if that person had been so big, it could have taken away from his, you know what I mean? Like screen presence or something. But I agree. In a way, I feel like now going back and watching this movie, however many years later, Tim Robbins went on to do some other things, but
Shawshank Redemption.
Okay, I haven't seen.
Just for anybody who didn't hear what Tawny said, she hasn't seen Shawshank Redemption. Gotta see it.
It's one of those movies that I've seen scenes. Like, I think I feel like I've seen the entire movie. I feel like I know the plot, but I just haven't ever like sat down to actually watch the whole Shawshank Redemption. But yeah. Okay. But like, I didn't really recognize him. A part of me felt like, oh, I should know who this person is in a way. Like, I feel like I've probably seen him on other things. It sounds like a big name, but I couldn't place them, which is good, actually. I feel like, and so again, like going back and looking at these two, I was like, they're like the everyday person. They're not this like, and listen, I'm about to say some blasphemy right now, and so I apologize in advance to everybody. But one of the biggest problems that I had with The Shining was the fact that Jack Nicholson is the main character. I watched Anger Management too many times before I watched The Shining, and so I could not take him seriously at all, in the slightest. I couldn't take him seriously. And so I think that that's sometimes like I mean, obviously you don't. Have you seen that movie?
Yes. But I've seen Jack Nicholson's movies before that too, though. Right. So I really liked The Shining. But then, like, The Witches of Eastwick. Oh my God. Have you seen The Witches of Eastwick? Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Anyway.
Okay.
Anyways, he's more of a funny character in that too. So yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay.
I think of him as a comical actor because that was my first, I feel like, experience with him was Anger Management. And then to go back and try to watch him in a horror was not happening for my brain. Like, it's just
So in his younger days, it was like drama. He was not a comedy actor. So
right.
There's a lot of movies. I'm just saying, I think that's why I believed him in The Shining. And then to me, he transitioned into a comedy actor. That's right. Like my experience with Robert De Niro.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, he was not a comedy actor. And then all of a sudden he's doing these movies and he's great at it. But anyway.
But yeah, like, so I guess that, you know, it makes sense that you don't make a movie with the intention of like, what is this? What do I see in this person's future for the next like 50, 60 years? Like, that doesn't make any sort of sense. But in a weird way, I feel like it really helped this movie for me watching it now, having it be way later, that I didn't recognize the main cast except for Macaulay Culkin, right? And a couple of the other people. But they were like, you know, the tertiary cast, not the main cast.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. That's fun. Here, let's see. So the drug aspect of the story was taken from a book called Acid Dreams, the CIA, LSD, and 60s Rebellion. Something fun about the movie is actually greenlit by Paramount Pictures, but then while it was being produced, there was like a change in leadership at the studio, and those new leaders didn't like it, so they X'd the thing. They were like, nope, we're not making it. I think there was a lot of big like directors, producers that wanted to get it greenlit. So the whole project was almost scrapped until Carolco, Carolco Pictures saved it, gave it a budget of $25 million and let Lyne, the director, have complete creative control.
Wow.
Yeah. They wanted, I left out a part, the reason they scrapped it is they were demanding that Lyne change the end.
Oh.
And he said, no, I'd rather walk away from it than change the end.
Bold.
Mm-hmm. Because then they said, all right, peace. But then finally somebody picked it up and took it.
This is a total side note, but did you know, you might already know this, but did you know in Wayne's World, Michael Myers, he said he was going to walk if they wouldn't use Bohemian Rhapsody for the movie?
No, I didn't know that.
He was like, if you don't, because the studio or whatever, the execs didn't want to, like, I think pay for it, or they didn't want to use that song for whatever reason. And he was like, straight up, I'm not fucking doing this movie unless you use this song. And he threatened to walk, and they they buckled eventually, apparently, and ended up using it. And it's the like most iconic scene of that movie, and it revitalized actually that Queen. Like, it, like, as soon as that movie debuted, like, they had like a huge uptick in sales for their like record. Anyway, it's just interesting. Total side note, but like, it's an interesting thing when people really stick to their fucking guns and go like, no, I know this is gonna work. Like, I know it's gonna be the thing. You either do it or I leave. Like, sometimes that works out so well.
You know what? Yeah, totally. That reminds me of the scene in the Bohemian Rhapsody, right? That was the new. God, I love that movie.
Wayne's World?
Well, yes, I do love that movie, but it's Bohemian Rhapsody, the new one about Queen with Rami Malek. Oh my God.
I haven't seen it.
I'm so madly in love with that movie. Queen were, and I don't remember any of the names. They wanted to record Bohemian Rhapsody, and oh shit, it's all coming together actually. Mike Myers plays the record label that says, no, I am not recording that piece of crap song. It's an opera. It's like 3 minutes long, 5 minutes, whatever. I'm not going to do it. No one's going to listen. And they said, then we're leaving. He goes, you're leaving. I produce the biggest artist, and you're going to walk? And they said, yes, goodbye. And they left.
Wow. I'm going to watch this movie now.
Yes. And now, because you just said that about the song, he is in the scene that has everything to do with the recording of that song.
Wow. Full circle.
That's cool.
Circle.
So yeah, totally. It's not a scary movie, but it's an amazing movie. And Rami Malek, right? Or Rami Malek?
I don't.
Well, anyways, he love him. When you see this movie, like, I thought he was cool actor on that
Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot. I was going to say Roberto.
Mr.
Roboto. Mr. Robot. Yeah, I mean, I thought he was cool, but after this movie, oh my God, in love. Wow. And he won the Academy Award for this movie. It's phenomenal. Anyways, we're not talking about that. We were. So awesome. I love it. Let's see. Silent Hill. We know all about that. That was the inspiration for Silent Hill. What's a good one? That hospital gurney, in order to make it rattle and shake, the director screwed up one of the wheels so that it didn't hit the floor, so it would spin. So it was like everything, all the little things that, just to make it shake and spin. This is just a side note. So Gabe is played by Macaulay Culkin, right? His son. And he wasn't credited in the film.
Really?
I don't know why. I don't have anything more about it. It just mentioned that he's not credited in the film. And all those actors that were the Vietnam vets, so it's Tim Robbins, Pruitt, Taylor Vince, and all the other guys. They actually had to go to a 5-day military boot camp.
Oh.
Yeah.
For 2 minutes of the movie?
Oh no, I thought they took them. Oh, I see. I thought they had to go through it to get how actors immerse themselves, and I thought they went to a boot camp, but I see you're saying to record that scene.
Well, oh no. I was saying they went through all that effort for 2 minutes of screen time.
That's true. That's totally true. All right, here's something, because we were talking about the monsters in Silent Hill, and I wanted to mention this. So inside the book, Jacob's Ladder, the demons are demons like you would think of in the Bible. They have hooves, they're devils, they're demons.
Wings.
And
we had a lot of wings.
Yep, lots of wings, lots of bat wings. Adrian Lyne, he did not want to use that imagery because he felt it could become comical. He felt he's taking this movie and you start introducing these beasts and demons that it's gonna ruin it pretty much. So he wanted the demons to be more human-esque, but not quite human. He thought that would be scary and that would really make it more real of, is this guy losing his mind? So also about some of the characters or some of the demons, the people in the insane asylum, with the limbs, like that one guy on the grate where he has arms, but it looks like his legs are like little hands. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
The disfiguring limbs. Oh gosh. He had like long arms, but remember his legs were like almost like these weird. Anyways, those different. If you watch the movie again, a lot of the people had something wrong with their limbs, disfigurements of their limbs.
Okay.
And where he took that from was from the, I'm going to say this wrong, but the thalidomide scandal. And what that was is this was a drug made in the 1957 to 1961 that was given to pregnant women to help them combat morning sickness. Well, they did not do enough tests, and 10,000 children in Africa and Europe were born with severe physical deformities in their limbs because their mothers took that. And these were, I'm not going to say what all the because I can't say those words, the common defects, but in a nutshell, they're deformities of their limbs. Their limbs didn't grow correctly. So he researched that case a lot and got those versions of the demons from that.
It's interesting that they pulled from two different medical, you know what I mean? Like real life scenarios. That's meaty.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just very layered.
Yeah, it's so layered. And we haven't even cracked even, like, there's, you could take this and do a whole entire, not case study, but like master's thesis on the religious side.
Piece of it.
Just the religious piece.
Yes, and on top of that, it's an anti-war film.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Like,
and the medical piece in mental institutions. Yes. Let's see, what else do I have for you? I just want to make sure. Oh, at the end, Adrian Lyne heavily rewrote the scene at the end where Jacob goes up the stairs with Gabe, his son, and finally goes into whatever's there, heaven, we're assuming. In the book, it does evolve. Excuse me, I'm just choking. Hold on. And the water splashed all over my eye. Okay.
Oh
no. In the book, it is a staircase that goes up into the clouds, like you would imagine in a Bible.
Okay.
So he rewrote that to just
I liked that.
The stairway. Yeah, they just thought it was just, it changed it. What he said was simply having a staircase. It's basing on the principle that heaven is wherever you are happiest. So instead of feeding the idea of the biblical idea of heaven being in the clouds and up there, it's this happy place. He's just going up the stairs with his son into the light, and that's that. I thought that's cool. I like little thoughtful things like that. I think that's so cool that he's sitting there thinking, no, you know what? I don't want this to be like what people are thinking heaven is. I just want it to be happy, and reworking that. I thought that was cool.
I did too. And I liked how it wasn't so like, I mean, it's just very like on the nose to be like, it's a random staircase up into some clouds, right? Like, and the fact that we didn't actually see his home, him in it, without something that felt like a dream until that moment. And so when he's walking through the house, I found myself like really scanning. Like I was like scanning all of the stuff around him to be like, where are we? Like, are we back in the apartment? Are we in his home? He hadn't been in the home at all, except for those like scenes where he, I'm going to call it like a flashback, flashes back to his time with the family. And you really get by the end of the movie, like, this is where he was the most happy. Like, this was his version of heaven. And so again, when you see his son, who is, dead and, we assume to be already in heaven, be the one to walk him up the stairs, it was very sweet. It was
so sweet in a not corny way.
Yeah, like I liked it.
I really liked it too. I loved it. And it was the same thing with Stir of Echoes. Her just putting on her coat and walking up the street. I really loved that, and I needed it. I needed it at the end. And this truly, you're absolutely right, was where he's happy. So I was wondering, so his son did pass away probably before he went to the war, but did he really leave his wife? Was that even real?
Yeah.
Maybe his wife is waiting for him to come home from war. Was he ever even with that woman?
I because I could not help myself but do like a tiny bit of research, like, and I didn't look into the movie itself, but I just went and read like comments from some people who had like watched this movie, and then I went and looked up the Silent Hill, parallels, and I saw someone have some sort of comment about like how it may have been that he never actually was with Jezebel, but she was somebody who he knew and had like impure thoughts about. Like he
Mm-hmm.
never actually like went and was like cheating on his wife with this woman, but he knew her and had had some sort of thoughts about that, like about her. So that's why she sort of shows up as this like person that he is in a relationship with after the war. And I thought that was interesting. It was just an interesting take because it was like, okay, that makes sense, right? Like now he's in this like, quote unquote hell or purgatory or whatever. And it's not his, whatever it is, it's not his version of heaven. And
Mm-hmm.
his version of heaven is with his wife and kids. But you're not sure about that in the movie until the end. And then you're like, oh yeah, this is not what he wanted. So it is, I sort of walked away with from the movie with the impression that it did never happen, like whatever that
Yeah.
was.
And actually, remember when he woke up with his wife and he said, I had a dream I was in a relationship with that girl from work. Remember you met her at the holiday party?
Yeah.
You saying that made me think of something because it did catch my attention that her name was Jezebel and what a Jezebel is. And you saying that, how interesting. He, throughout the whole movie, he is like a good guy. He's like a loving guy and he is suffering. He has impure thoughts about the woman, and she's depicted as a whore and a Jezebel. Even though it's him having thoughts about her, just based off what you said right there. And
Right.
isn't that typical? No, but since it's kind of, well, I'll just say it. I'm just going to say it. Since it is like a biblical term, that would be
Yeah.
the case where the woman is the seductress and the poor man can't help but be seduced by the woman. This is all fact. I studied it. Back in the day, oh my gosh, this is a total side note, but I read this really old book, about, and it was actually in French, and it was so old and then translated, about how, gosh, I wish I could remember, like we're talking about, I think, witch trial times, but way back in the day, this priest wrote a whole book about how to help women not seduce men. So the poor man doesn't have to fall victim of the seductress woman. And it was all about the type of foods that she should eat so that she does not become aroused, that she should cut her hair, that she should bind her breasts, that she should not be attractive. Because the poor man with these women walking around with this evil seduction. Obviously, I also studied women's studies, but I won't get too into that. But
It's definitely our fault. Definitely our fault.
Definitely. That Jezebel.
Wow. This movie took us in such weird directions that we didn't know we were going to go.
I have a funny thing, and then I don't have anything else. And Jason Alexander will probably hate me for this when he hears this episode. But so that scene where Tim Robbins and so no secret that Tim Robbins is tall AF. He is a tall man in real life. He is tall. So when Jacob confronts Geary, the lawyer, Jason Alexander, it was in the courtroom corridor. So you'll notice he goes into the courtroom to confront him and say, hey, WTF, what's going on? And then they go out, but then they're quickly at a staircase.
Yeah.
And the reason they did that was to kind of downplay the height difference. Yes. Yes.
That makes total sense now that you say it. Because that guy was tall as fuck, dude. I was like watching him be next to Jezebel.
Yeah.
I was like, she's like there's like a scene where they're talking to each other, and the entire scene she's literally like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, on some level, I was like, I like this actually. It's very realistic because for the most part, movies they even people out kind of so that it's not as jarring. But in a weird way, I was like, oh, that's totally realistic, right? Like you have somebody who's like a foot taller than somebody else. That's how they're gonna look at them.
Yeah, and that's normal. There's tall people.
Yeah.
in the world. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Didn't they say that Tom Cruise, he wears platforms because he's kind of short?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they like I think put him on apple boxes and stuff, which are like just wooden boxes to prop him up.
Well, I loved this movie. Tawny, what's your rating on this movie?
I thought about this long and hard all day. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. What about you?
So I thought about this too, and I mentioned this last time to the point where I was stressed, and I was like, I hate these scores because then I look back and I'm like, should I have rated Poltergeist higher? It really was something I loved, and then I was like, okay, Felicia, just score it and whatever is in your heart. So I'm gonna give this movie. So now I'm nervous. So I don't know. I think I went back between a 4 out of 5 and a 5 out of 5. But I think for all the reasons we explained, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 because it was creepy. It was scary. I loved the way they layered everything. I love the end. I loved how I was confused and I wanted, to find answers with him. And it was just I can't base it on like screaming jump scare
Yeah,
type stuff
absolutely.
because what didn't scare me on that level, it was disturbing and curious, and I loved the ending, so I loved it. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. Ooh, the prestigious 5 out of 5 for
See,
Felicia.
now I'm like, tomorrow I'm going to be like,
No, don't be.
Maybe I should have did that. No, 5 out of 5. Yes.
Follow your heart, dude. Follow your heart.
Yeah, I really liked that movie. Enjoyed watching it again.
I really enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. And
I'm so glad you did.
I feel like it's like one of those movies that I would be like down to rewatch because I feel like I probably would pick up on more stuff the second time. That's why I'm going 4 out of 5.
Yeah, that you say that. I agree. This is a movie where if I was still in graduate school, I'd figure out a way to study it based under my major. Like I want to research. First of all, I love researching. And when I was little, I told my mom I wanted to be a researcher, and she said that that's not a job. Come to grow up and find out that it is legitimately a job. But I didn't follow that. But I love researching, and I just want to research the movie on all those different aspects, the medical aspect, the religious aspect. Like, I just loved it.
Me too, dude. I really missed it. Like, listen, I went to school for video production, okay? And I I don't even remember doing reports on, there was one report I did on like villains, but like aside from that, I don't remember doing any on like actual movies or anything, which is like such a waste. Like, it was just trying to survive and get the grade and get through it,
Yes.
which is
I went to
sad.
school for religion, but I was really focused and wrapped up in how religion treats women and their bodies. But a lot of people I was in school with in religious studies would take movies or TV shows and look at the religious themes of those things. So it was pretty cool. But let's talk about, our next episode or the next movie that you should be watching is Green Room. And this is a movie that you saw, right, Tawny? You've seen this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have not seen it. I have not seen the movie.
It is on Netflix, so it's free.
Oh, score! My husband, every time he's like, we're renting another movie.
I know, that's why I tried so hard for my pick. I was like, okay, I gotta pick one that's like free on one of the things.
Just give us a break.
Yeah, so I picked Green Room for that reason. And I don't know how long it's going to be on Netflix. I feel like it's been on Netflix for 100 years, and I'm terrified they're going to take it down. So you guys, I'm serious. If you're listening to this episode and you have not seen Green Room, please, for the love of God, please go watch Green Room on Netflix before they take it down, because it is great. I mean, I just ruined it, but it's a great, why would I pick a movie for you to watch, Felicia? That's not great. I'm not going to. It's great.
I'm very excited about it. So me and my teens, we're just sticking with the teens. We did the nicknames
Bear
for
and
one
Bunny.
episode, and it was too much for me. So, and they haven't given me any other names. So my teens, we call it Thriller Thursday. And my daughter's girlfriend comes over that evening, and we watch the scary movie to talk about the next day on Friday. So they are so amped. They literally, oh my gosh, I should post it in our Facebook group. I walked into my daughter's room. She has a TV on her wall, and it's our podcast playing on Spotify. I'm totally going to post that, but they are so into it. They'll text me, hey, mom, hey, Felicia, what's the next episode? What movie should we be watching next? Like,
oh my God.
They are so into it.
Are you prepared for me to be best friends with your kids?
Oh my gosh, yes. I totally trust you. You could be best friends with my kids. They would love it.
Because this is going to happen.
Absolutely. Auntie Tawny, yes. Yes, you absolutely can. Yeah, they're so into it. And so they said they looked it up, and they didn't say anything, but they told me that it was really rated really good.
Green
is
Room?
What they said. Yeah. They said it was rated really good, and they do read a little bit about it, but they don't share that with me because they know that's the rules.
I have a feeling, and I might be wrong on this, and so you'll have to update me, but I feel like your teens are going to love and shit their pants about Green Room.
Oh, so they listen to this episode. They won't hear this episode before
Not
we watch
until,
Green Room.
Yeah,
you're right. Okay, cool.
but you'll have to tell me, and we'll update later in whatever episode we're recording at that point. So you'll have to let me know. But I think they're going to love it in the way that it's scary.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I can't wait.
Me too.
Oh, I love it. And for those who aren't watching our YouTube, I wore a camo zip-up hoodie in honor of the movie because he was in Vietnam, if you remember us talking about that. All right. That was so much fun. I really love our Fridays and look forward to them. Remember, the next movie is Green Room. Please join our Facebook group. I'm going to post I didn't forget my chemistry teacher's name and picture. And we have such cool people in that group.
I know, it's so fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. I love it. It's like my favorite thing to do. Check in and post in that group and
join us over there.
Yeah. And Tawny has been tasked with trying to figure out how to end the episodes because I still struggle with ending episodes. All right. Thank you for listening. Bye. So she's going to come up with something unless you have something. Yeah.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
I'm going to stick with what we have been doing, though, until I come up with something better, which is have a good sleep. No nightmares.
I love it. I think that's just what you should say. Have a good sleep, no nightmares. I love it.
No nightmares.
No nightmares.
That first time you said it really got me.
No nightmares.
No nightmares.
All right, you guys. Thank you. And yes, please do have a good sleep. No nightmares. If you do have nightmares when you wake up, open up that journal and write that shit down and make the next best scary movie.
Yes.
Yes.